And we are live for another Friday on Proline TV, also a part of the Our-Lads Football Network, so you can check us out on both channels. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Greg DePalma, and joining me once again on a Friday, my two partners here at Proline TV, and that is Mark Lawrence and Jim Feist. How's it going, fellas?
I can't complain. We haven't had any hurricanes out here, and I know Mark hasn't either.
And Greg hasn't either. I think he's had the most recent, the one up in Nashville, that was devastating. You know,
that's right.
Yeah,
as crazy as that sounds, that is true.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we get started, I got to get your opinion on the ramifications of last night's game. So the Bengals with Joe Flacco looked like that Joe Burrow wasn't missed for at least one night. And as you've said over the last couple of weeks, Jim, that AFC North race is, especially if you're looking at it from a Baltimore Ravens point of view, is far from over. And we saw last night why. So now the question, though, is, are the Cincinnati Bengals out of it?
Well, if you're asking me, I'm going to say they're not out of it because we don't know. I mean, of course, Cleveland is out of it. Okay, so that we know that.
Okay.
The Ravens, we have no idea what they're going to do. Their defense wasn't playing good even before they got all the injuries and Lamar. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. They are definitely the better team if they are whole and playing well. Pittsburgh is. We know who the coach is. He has a way of finding ways to win. They did not play terribly on offense last night. They just couldn't stop anybody. Great game, fun game. I was happy I had a double winner on the side and the total. But I think it's up for grabs. I think, Flacco and Aaron Rodgers are they're 40 years old. But they know how to play. They know how to win. They know how to break down a defense. They know how to spot different things. Now, if you can give them a little bit of time, they can pick you apart, as opposed to some of the young kids that we have in the league that have all the talent and physicality and everything else in their favor, but they can't read defenses really well, and they make a lot of mistakes. So I don't know. It's kind of in that particular division, I think it's wide open.
What do you think about the odds? We could see them right here, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Baltimore, even though they have one win, they're basically the same price as the Pittsburgh Steelers to win the division. Pittsburgh at plus 125, Baltimore at plus 135, and the Bengals are now just a little over 4-1, Mark, to win the division, and the Jets are on deck. Then comes a bye, and they can get to 4-4, and they got a long season to go. And, Joe Burrow could be back with about 3 or 4 games to spare. And if the Bengals can just find a way to be within a game or so when Joe Burrow comes back, then who knows?
Everything we do is all about value, guys, first and foremost. What we buy and what we sell, what we bet the game at before game time. And these odds that you just mentioned to win the division, there is no value at all whatsoever in Baltimore. Nope. I mean, you can talk about what they were, what they've been, what their season opening odds are. They're just a bad football team. And it starts on the defense. And if Lamar Jackson comes back, they'll still maybe be a high-scoring, over-type team. The value is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're only one game back of Pittsburgh, 3-3 and 4-2. Cincinnati would be the guy that I would buy right now.
Yeah, that is, and look, I think it's valued where it should be. It's a fair price, and you do just, it's also sometimes I don't know how much you put into this, guys, especially because I'm sure a lot of what you do is about numbers. But how much do you put into stock regarding just gut? Regarding, when you start to see a team and Flacco comes in and plays well. And like I said, with the Jets on deck, more than likely that's 4-4 going into the bye. And then all of a sudden, you see so this, do you feel that? Do you put that into your equation when you're thinking about stuff like this, not just on a week-to-week basis, but if anybody asks you regarding futures and stuff like that?
The only thing I can say is this: there's a feeling about Joe Flacco. I've seen him before, up close in Cleveland, and he has a tendency. He has a tendency to play with the new team and do real well right out of the gate the first 2 or 3 games, and then he starts throwing picks. And then he loses his starting job. Now, whether that's going to happen in Cincinnati or not, I don't know. But he really, really revitalized that team last night. Jim, why is Baltimore more of a favorite than Cincinnati is right now?
Well, their potential is greater if Lamar comes back, and if you look at the lineups with Lamar at the quarterback, Burrow is gone. You're looking at Flacco, you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, and you're looking at Lamar. There's no comparison. The potential of Lamar is great. But the odds makers are not right here. They should be more value on the Ravens, but the reason they're wrong and they're right. If you put the price where it should be, based on the records and the current injury situation, you should probably get in 3-1. But they don't want to put 3-1 up because they know everybody like you and I are going to go bet it.
Yep.
And people with even a lot more money and they're going to go out there and they're definitely going to take it.
Does this have anything to do with the money that was invested early in the season on the Ravens? It was such a low price that there's only so much it can move the other direction this early in the season.
Well, if I had a lot of money on the Ravens from the get-go, I would probably hedge with the Steelers because you can't know what's going to happen with the Ravens. They've had so many injuries and then their defense was playing so bad and nobody could figure that out. And that has nothing to do with Lamar. So if I was stuck on the Ravens with a lot of money to win this division, I'd be hedging on the Steelers. I wouldn't be betting the Bengals because of what Mark just said. Flacco has a tendency to play a couple good games and then get off the rails. And we don't know if Burrow will come back.
Yeah, he had that run a couple of years ago with the Browns, of course. That was about, 4 or 5 games, I think, before the end of the season.
It was an amazing run.
Yeah.
He really took Cleveland, and then they got into the playoffs against Houston and got absolutely drilled.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So that's what happened yesterday. Now we're going to talk about what's going on Sunday in the NFL. Jim will then leave us, and Mark and I will get into college football. So, and if you want to know about some of the games that we're not talking about today, check out the links in the description of this video, as well as just going to the website at Proline TV, and you can check out the Playbook ATS podcast. The 3 of us were on. Andy Isco was on. And I also did my Wednesday show. That was over 2 hours going over just about every game imaginable in the NFL and college football. And don't forget also Jim and Andy's video that was posted yesterday where they talked about alternate lines and what else?
The contest.
Well, the contest, alternate lines.
There was
teasers.
There was Armageddon 2 weeks ago where everybody got destroyed. I mean,
right.
It was bad.
And then we just posted the video that Jim did with Victor earlier today. So you can check that out right now on the channel. Of course, the Total King Victor, that is up there. You can check that out. Also some player props information. So loads, as usual, football content, pro and college football. So let's get into one more swing of this in the NFL. And we start with this game, Mark, on Sunday morning between the Rams and the Jags. It's in London. No Puka. That's a big loss. We're going to see how much it affects them. They're a 3-point favorite, though. That's the question I have, though, Mark. I'm kind of surprised it's 3 without Puka. Because I couldn't imagine this game was going to be bigger than 3 with Puka.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising. He's worth so much to this football team. Sort of like the Cooper Cup days, how valuable he was to the Rams. Puka's every bit of that and more this football season here. I'm not all that enamored with whether this line is right or whether this line is wrong. And that's sort of in my DNA because I don't like to attack the odds maker and say he's right or say he's wrong. I just handicap the line that he puts out. So I look at this game as the Rams +3 and or -3. What I want to do with it. So to me, it's a tough football game. But I would lean to the Rams for the side in the game here. I'm a big dog lover, but there's some holes on the other side of this football contest here. I mentioned this on our ATS podcast that I had called, and I think Jim was a little bit surprised. The Colts, the phoniest team in the National Football League. And my reasoning is that they've allowed season high yards in 4 of their 5 football games. They're not playing well defensively, and it's a type of a team in the Rams you can't afford to do just that. You got to bring a defense here and stop the Rams some way, somehow. So I'm going to lean to the Rams in here, if for no other reason, because of the lousy Colts defensive numbers.
Well, the Colts. You're talking about the Jaguars or the Colts? Because the Jags are playing in this game.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about the Rams.
Rams Jacksonville in London.
Oh, okay. The London game. Okay. Sorry about that. I had looked at. Oh, sorry about that. I'm way off key there. I was on the wrong Los Angeles team.
Yeah, the 2 Los Angeles teams. That'll get you every time.
Yes, it will. Jacksonville loves playing there. They've been there the most times of any team in the National Football League. But I'm a big Rams guy this year. I think they're doing some things that are very, very impressive from a defensive standpoint. And I think Jacksonville's a bit phony this year. I'm gonna lean with the Rams in this football contest and let Jacksonville go on their second home field.
Do you feel the same way as Mark, Jim? Basically, I don't know how you look at the lines. I know there are some people out there. I do it regarding. I like to guess the lines first and then see what they are, and I use that as an example for myself to feel like that gives me an initial gauge on whether or not I'm off or I feel that. Hey, like for instance, if I think the game should be Pick'em without Puka Nacua and the game is 3 Rams, then obviously then I'm thinking right off the bat that the Jags have some value here in my mind. So what do you think about the line? Are you kind of surprised that it's 3 without Puka?
Well, first of all, they didn't know that Puka wasn't going to be. What I'm surprised at that it's 3 minus 15, minus 10, minus
Juice,
8.
right.
You know, there's still juice in there, and I think the line's too high. I basically when people will say, well, what do you Puka's out, how do you adjust the number? You take a point away. They'll say that. Now I never followed that because without him, you got to make a lot of changes. You got to bring running backs into the picture for catching the ball. You got to find another wide receiver off the bench or maybe some tight ends that you got to start. So you got to make some big adjustments. So is it he's probably worth that 1 point, but when you start making the adjustments and stuff, and then it comes down to coaching. They have a good coach. The Rams have a good coach. Jacksonville, I've never been enamored with Lawrence after the first couple of years. He's been there 5-6 years. He's never really looked the part. He just doesn't get it done. And now he has a new coach. Now, Liam Cohen he was with Baker Mayfield in Tampa last year, first run at being a head coach. I don't know. Yeah, they came out with that victory over Kansas City a couple of weeks ago, and that might have inflated their profile to everybody. I think the Rams are the better team. On a neutral, which this is, should they be 3? No. So that's me. What do I do with this game is I'm going to play the Rams money line, and I'm going to play the game under.
Okay. It's 44.5 right now. Of course, you can get different numbers depending on which book you're at. Rams, meanwhile, right now are 8-1 against the spread as a road favorite since the 2023 season. 2-0 in that role this year. And here's a playbook special, a Mark Lawrence playbook special. And that is the Jacksonville Jags. And we talked about this last week, Mark, going into the Seattle game. The Jacksonville Jags are now 2-18 against the spread in their last 20 games versus the NFC West.
I don't know why that is. I don't know if it has to do with coast to coast and, a lot of travel, sometimes for Jacksonville, sometimes for the opponent, but it's the one division that they have a bugaboo with here.
Yeah.
And more importantly, Jim hit the point on the head here. I think the biggest edge in the game is with the head coach.
Both teams are 4-2 straight up and against the spread. Big loss for Jacksonville. I know there's a lot of talk, deservedly so, about Puka being out. But the Jags right now, their hottest defender this year is linebacker Devin Lloyd. He leads the NFL with 4 interceptions, including a pick 6. He's one of the best cover linebackers in the NFL. He will not play in this game. So it's a big loss for the Jags because they have been very opportunistic on defense this year. A lot of turnovers. That helps him out, obviously, in these games. But without him, that is a significant loss. Okay, let's move on to the next game. And we actually have ourselves a little rivalry game. In the old days, when it was the Cowboys and the Redskins, especially way back in the old days, this was the rivalry in professional sports. Just hasn't been that way anymore, and it kind of loses some of its luster too when you use the word Commanders. But it's still the Cowboys and the Redskins to a lot of us old timers, and the Cowboys are a 1.5 home favorite in this spot. Mark, what do you think about this one? As the Cowboys come in following the loss at Carolina, and Washington comes in following that really bad late loss against the Chicago Bears.
Well, I think this number is where it is, as we alluded to earlier about the possible injuries to Washington in the football game. That's what's bringing the number to Dallas in the contest here. I don't think Dallas is very good at all. Defensively, they're horrible. Offensively, they're mediocre. And they're going to catch Washington, a division rival in this contest here, coming off that Monday night loss. I think this is a Washington play for me. I just don't want to lay points with Dallas at any time that I can see anything happening in the near future unless something happens, whether it's player personnel, head coach, who knows, whatever. But I do not want any Dallas Cowboys right now. I think this team has the plague.
Well, there's no question Dallas Cowboys have one of the worst owners in the league as far as somebody that messes with the team and messes up the team, I should say. Their offenses put up a lot of points, but their defense gives up just as much or more. So the way I've been playing Dallas all year long is I bet Dallas team total over every week, and I bet all their games over every week. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to do it this week because I have to check these injuries and I have to get closer to game time to do that. But the way I would normally play this, and I probably will, is Dallas team total over and the game over, but I have to check the injuries before I do it.
Yeah, the latest, now I hadn't checked today yet, but the latest I had yesterday was CD was trending in the right direction to play this game. I don't really care. I don't think it matters that Turpin doesn't play for the Cowboys. That's not a game changer in any way. But McLaurin's out now for the Commanders, and that is, of course, still a big loss for their team. I know Debo is also a little bit banged up, but I don't think there's I think most people expect he'll play. And really, how surprised were you guys that the line started to Washington and has now switched over 3 points to Dallas 1.5?
Well, I'm not. I was shocked that Washington was the favorite to begin with. Washington hasn't looked like the Washington of a year ago. So I'm just basically saying the game is a pick 'em Why make them a favorite? Well, obviously the odds makers must have thought we got to put a little bit of a burden on Washington because people are going to want to bet them. Well, that hasn't turned out to be the case. Now there's more money coming in on Dallas, but it did open 51.5 and shot up to 55 in some spots, but they're all 54.5s now.
Yeah, Mark, it's also, if you look at it, the Cowboys have beaten Washington 3 out of 4, covering all 4 the last 2 years. And I actually tend to look more at those head-to-head rivalries in division play in the NFL more than anything else. I don't really care as much when they're out of division, unless it's a rival, unless it's a, Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, unless it's those major teams. But in division play, I think that does matter a little bit when another team just has, one team's number, even if it's only for a couple of years.
Well, this is a major rivalry, as you mentioned, Greg, whether it's the Commanders or the Redskins. It's still Washington and Dallas. And the two teams do not like one another, but most of the league does not like Dallas. So you're going to get from Washington their full attention, their best effort. And a lot of that's going to stem off of that loss to the Bears. This is a football team that right now, what are they, 3-3 in the season? They really can't be taking too many steps backward right now at this stage of the season here. And I think Dallas is a very winnable game for them. I made a mistake in our playbook newsletter when I wrote this game up, and I closed it out. At the time I wrote it, Washington was, as Jim said, the favorite in the game. And I passed, but I said, but if you play it, lay it. Well, now I'm telling people to lay Dallas for all intents and purposes, which is not the point. So I got to be a little bit more careful on my choice of words per se. But again, this is not a game I'm going to reach in my pocket for at all. There's too many unknowns in the contest here. I'll just let Jim do his Dallas and the over, which has been like gold all season long.
Yeah, and keep in mind last year Washington they were 7-5. They were middle of the pack, and anyone on a run late in the season. So there is that to consider. And no McLaurin. I mean, the whole holdout deal, that was not good. And this happens an awful lot. You see the player holds out, doesn't practice with the team, and he's in late. He's not in the same physical vibes as his teammates, and then he gets injured. And that's basically what it's been. There's been no chemistry this year with McLaurin like there was last year. And also the running game. They traded their number 1 running back before the season began. They've gone to the cheaper way, the 7th round draft pick. So they really don't have a consistent running game as well. So a couple of things that, I think if you're looking at it from a positive standpoint, I still think there's hope if you're a Washington fan and they can get it together. Dallas, on the other hand, defensively, just as Jim has said, all season and all preseason, there just doesn't look like there's any hope that the Cowboys are going to get any better defensively. Okay.
No, there isn't, but I'll tell you one thing, they would love to have Dowdle back.
Yeah, to say the least, huh?
Oh my God, that young man has done some tremendous things for Carolina.
Yeah, whenever there's a situation like that, like a trade like that, and a player comes out and plays well, I don't know. I actually don't look at it as, well, if he was on the Cowboys, he'd be doing the same thing. There's so many variables.
You got to have an offensive line to open holes.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys' offensive line is definitely not as good as they used to. No doubt about that. And right now, Carolina, and I know we're going to talk about their game, but they've actually been very impressive. Keeping in mind, last week when Dowdle had, I think it was last week, because he's had 2 really good games in a row, where they had 3 starters down on the offensive line, and yet they were still able to run like this. So that's pretty impressive. David Canales is doing a really good job there at Carolina, and we'll see if he can keep it up. Okay, Green Bay and Arizona. This is the next game. We have 4 on the dock. And I think what do we got? The latest line in this one is still somewhere around 6. It's now 7. I see here over at DraftKings. So, and
mostly 6.5s, but you have the 7s. Yeah.
And couple of things I noticed right off the bat, without even me having to look at the information, because I've seen it already this season. First of all, Green Bay has not been good as a road favorite. They are 4-12 in their last 16, 0-2 in that role this year. They are also 1-10 against the spread as a road favorite of more than 3, 0-2 in that role this year. And Arizona, as we know, I mean, it's just incredible. This team, even though they're losing games, they don't lose games by very much. It's a couple points here, a point there, and I'm getting 7 at home. So I have to take Arizona in this spot. The entire season of what I've seen, and even some of these trends from the last couple of years with the Packers are telling me, well, I have to take Arizona in this one, Mark. You're muted, Mark. Oh, wrong button, Mark.
There we go.
Wait, there you go. Okay.
So sorry about that. What impresses me about Arizona this year with all these close call games is the fact that they haven't thrown up the white flag. They've had injuries. They've had bizarre finishes to their football games. And if the bizarre finishes would have went their way, they could well be a winning team. And this line could be more in the pick'em range, but it's not. They've lost football games. And as a result, Green Bay comes in here as a 3-point favorite. I like Arizona here. It goes back to, I guess, my old days where 7 points in the National Football League was considered gold, unless there was a reason that the team you're going to lay the 7 against had major problems. I don't see major problems with Arizona. They just haven't quit. They just have had bad luck in these 3 close call losses here. I don't think Green Bay warrants being a 7-point favorite in a football game like this. I'm going to play the Cardinals.
Jim, who's also muted.
Really? Okay.
What's up with the muting brothers?
I guess. I didn't know that. I agree with Mark. I've never been a totally sold on the quarterback for Green Bay. I've just, there's something missing there. It's yes, he's talented. Yes, he can have great games, but as good as their roster is, they don't look like a championship quality team. That could change. They got a good coach. A lot of things can happen. Arizona's capable. Now, whether it's, what do we know about Murray and Brissett? And I'm not a Murray fan either, by the way, but Brissett can come in there occasionally and because he's stable. He's a stable kind of guy. If you start putting a lot of pressure on him, of course, he's not that mobile. But taking 7 at home in the desert, that's the only way I could look at this game. I'd have to look at Arizona plus 7.
Arizona, again, for whatever this is worth, 6-0-1 against the spread before a bye week, and 11-1 against the spread as a non-division NFC home dog of more than 3. A lot says Arizona. There is one trend that says Green Bay. So for you Green Bay backers, the Packers have covered 11 straight versus the NFC West. So the Packers are getting the revenge for the Jacksonville Jags. How crazy is that? Okay.
That is crazy.
And now we're going to go with the final game of the week. And this is going to be on prime time. And this is maybe the premier game of the week. Tampa Bay and Detroit.
Definitely it's definitely premier game. Tampa Bay doing it with smoke and mirrors. I mean, they've not played a game yet where they're healthy, but they got a guy there. I don't know what he's drinking, what he's smoking, but Baker Mayfield is playing out of his mind. And I keep rubbing it in. I know. Once you Cleveland got rid of him, you knew he'd be a superstar. Now, that's not always true. But in this case, it is true. Baker is really the leader in the clubhouse as far as MVP. Playing awesome. 5-1 on the year. But they're playing at Detroit coming off a loss. And the home team coming off a loss in this spot is pretty damn good. So you got both sides of the Tampa playing too good to give them 6 points. I think it's a ridiculous, even It's 5.5, 6. Yeah, 6 is the highest number that I see. I think it's too big a line. I'm not playing the side, but I am playing the total. I think both teams are going to march up and down the field. The one thing I noticed about Detroit, they have a new offensive coordinator. Goff is a really good quarterback, but he's really good when he plays a certain type of offensive formation and skill set, and that's the run-pass option. Under Johnson, the offensive coordinator last year, they did a lot of that. I mean, over 50% of the time, I think they were running the run-pass option. This year, last week against Kansas City, only 20%, 29%. Why? Now, is that the offensive coordinator saying, hey, this is the way I want you to play? Or an offensive coordinator saying, that's his skill set and that's what we're going to play with? Or is he trying to change the quarterback? I don't know. But that's not what I would do if I was managing the young man. Whatever his strength would be, I'd be playing with that, not against it. So I don't know, because at some point in time, there's going to be some catching up to do with losing an offensive and defensive coordinator from the previous year. And they did lose their all-star center as well. So even though they look good and a lot of people, including myself, think they're a very strong team, I'm still not 100% sure what happens when they face a really good team, which didn't work out very well last week against Kansas City. And now they're going to face another really good team that's playing really well.
Well, the trends are colliding here, Don Lawrence. And that is the fact that, as we know, Baker Mayfield is a monster in this role as a road dog. 8-7 straight up, 12-3 against the spread since he's been with the Bucs, including a Week 2 upset win at Detroit last year as a 7-point road dog. The Bucs have also covered 9 straight as a non-division road dog of 3 or more, 1-0 in that role this year. That will collide with those great numbers from Detroit and Dan Campbell, as Dan Campbell is 17-9-1 against the spread as a home favorite, 2-0 in that role this year. Dan Campbell covered 11, all 11, after a straight-up loss. All 11 after a straight-up loss under Dan Campbell. And Detroit is 12-1 against the spread off of a double-digit spread loss, including 1-0 this year. So we've got combining awesome trends meeting together here. And I'll say once more, Don Lawrence. That's from Manuel Hernandez, by the way.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, there's Manuel. You know Manuel, Don?
Manuel?
Yeah, Manuel Hernandez. Do you know him? No?
No.
All right, Manuel. See, the Don shouldn't know you, Manuel, because you're just the little people.
Oh, okay.
This is the Don.
I'm not following this conversation. Are you following it?
It's right here.
I haven't.
Are you reading the comments?
I have to go smoke some pot because I'm not on this page.
He wants to catch up.
This is going sideways so much. Jim's hurting. He's got to get the pot.
Oh my God! I have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Don Lawrence. I see it. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
It's in our comments section from Manuel Hernandez, and God bless the Godfather, Don Lawrence. That's what he said.
Okay.
Now I'm getting it. Okay. Well, thank you, Manuel. I think personally, this is a real tough game. And I think Jim hit it right on the head. It's probably too many points to be giving Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
There's a good situation here for Detroit, which I think they can capitalize on. The truth is, as good as Tampa's played and as wonderfully as Baker Mayfield has played, they've been out-yarded in half their games this year. Tampa Bay has. They cannot afford to even think about getting out-yarded by Detroit on their home field here because they'll run away against this football team. So I was looking at this game from the standpoint Sunday night before I even saw there was a number last week, but a real number Sunday night of maybe stealing a number here, a low number with Detroit, 3.5 juice, something to that effect. But it opened way too much for me. It's just I think you put a number up there, the odds makers, so you couldn't make an overwhelming choice. to lay money with Detroit or the people that have been backing Tampa Bay of late here to come back and take money with them. Real tough call. As you mentioned, Greg, there is no better head coach in the numbers against the spread than Dan Campbell. He just chews it up and spits it out. And now he's in a role where he's angry and he's ready to spit. So do we want to back him? I don't know necessarily at this number, but I don't want any Tampa Bay here either. So I'm going to pass on a game that I think is must-watch television.
All right. So there you go. The key also, as you said in the open, Jim, is we got to pay attention to these injuries in this one because it does look like Mike Evans is going to come back. That's huge timing because it looks like Ibuka's out, Godwin's still going to be out, and then throw on the other side in Detroit, still without their two top cornerbacks. And we don't know if Kirby Joseph is going to play. He's been banged up the last several weeks. He's questionable. And they also have a tackle, Taylor Decker. And that's a big one because Decker, when he leaves the field, they bring on, there's a couple of guys that Detroit throws in there, and they're not very good. So keep an eye on that as well. There's a lot of big injuries that come into play here. Good news for Detroit. They're getting back one of the better young defensive tackles in the league, finally coming off the PUP list for the first time this season, Alan McNeil. So that's a big boost to the Detroit pass rush and their run defense. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. Jim, we appreciate your time as always. What you got cooking for the weekend?
Oh, there's lots. I mean, lots of action throughout the league. You want a Friday a play that I
absolutely give us a play, Jim.
Okay. Boy, there's so many. I really have too many plays. I love the card. So let me find something that.
So this is a good week to head on over to jimfeist.com.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Okay. It is. I think I have 9 plays posted off this card. And I had the two winners last night. I had the side and total. So
you're off to a good start.
Yeah, I got to try to go 11-0, right? If you don't go 11-0, if you don't go 11-0, you have to give them the money back. Is that right?
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. If you go 10-1, they bitch you about the 1. Yeah, I know that routine. Boy, Mark's gonna roll over on this one. He's gonna die when he hears this. Cleveland is never a favorite, but they should be this week. The weather is terrible. Miami is terrible. Miami's whole organization's falling apart. Judkins is going to run wild. He's a running back, came out of Ohio State. And Cleveland money line play is a real strong play for me.
Just to win the game.
You might have wind conditions there, 30 miles to 50 miles an hour at times, gusts.
And they're going to lose that advantage, Jim, by the way, when they open up this new stadium.
Yeah, go to Brook Park.
Yeah, Brook Park. Yeah. There's going to be no more winds coming off the lake.
Right.
Lake effect, right.
I guess there's a reason for that, but
it's financial. That's what it is. It's
always financial. It's always financial. You're right.
And it's also, any team knows that when they get a new stadium, they get a Super Bowl. But they have to be in an environment to warrant a Super Bowl.
It's got to be probably a dome, right?
Absolutely. Or warm weather. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they would trust a Super Bowl in February in Cleveland.
No.
Right.
So it's likely not to see the sun,
retractable dome stadium, most likely.
Yes.
Okay. Cleveland's my play this week. I have a lot of them. I have a lot of really strong plays. But that because of the weather conditions and Miami's chaotic conditions, and as a team, as an organization, Miami should absolutely not like playing in the rain and the wind and the cold and in Cleveland. And Cleveland will love it. They'll just love it.
I thought when you mentioned it, Jim, about the team being favored who hasn't been for a long while, I thought you were going to be talking about the Carolina Panthers.
Well, that's another one. They never win on the road,
right?
And they're favored.
Yep. You have to almost be a winless team.
The Jets almost did something last week I don't think I've ever seen. They had more sacks than yards. Yeah, Fields got sacked 9 times, and he only had 10 yards passing.
Oh my God. Oh my good. Yeah, I saw they had 88 total net yards. So all those sack yards
I
were
don't think
taken
I've
away.
ever seen a stat like that.
Wow. Wow.
Pretty crazy.
All right. Jim, have a great weekend. Have a profitable weekend. Have a safe and healthy weekend. And we look forward to doing it all over again next week.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good one.
Hey,
Thanks,
Jim,
Jim.
well, let's hope the ball bounces our way this week.
You're right. Thank you. You too.
All right. Jim Feist, jimfeist.com. You can check out his recent video posts with Andy Iskoe and Victor King that is now available as of right now on our channel. Okay, so that is the NFL, Mark. We're now going to – I tell you one more thing in the NFL before we move over to college football. How crazy was it last week when Baltimore remember we went into that game where the Rams had outgained every team they played.
Yep.
The Ravens had been outgained by every team they played. And then they go to play each other, and the Ravens end up outgaining the Rams, but then the Rams won and covered anyway. I mean, it's crazy. So
we've had so many bizarre finishes in the National Football League this year. It's like they ought to rename it sponsored by the Twilight Zone, you know?
It's crazy.
Yes, it is.
So that's why when Jim says something like, hey, man, I feel hot about an NFL week, then I would take advantage of that, because being hot or feeling like you're good, really good about an NFL week, that doesn't come around very often in the NFL nowadays. So
let me tell you a brief story in that regard, okay? Back in Cleveland, we owned some racehorses, and we had a horrible trainer who used to always tell me, go to the finish line, go to the finish, go to the winner's circle, which we never, ever did. Then I canned him, I got a new trainer, and this guy never, ever was completely the opposite. In one race, I says, what do you think? He says to me, I think he's got a pretty good chance. That was a buy sign for me. And he won easily. So
yeah, there you go. See? Yeah.
Yep. You got to be able to read people. Right?
That's right. That's
Right.
it. No matter what sport it is, take advantage of it. Okay. So this college football weekend is giving us something that is pretty rare. We have four teams that are 6-0, and all four are dogs. So keep that in mind. If you want to play any of them, usually that's the way to go.
Yes, it is.
You've got Ole Miss, Brigham Young, UNLV, and the game that we're going to kick off with here today, Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech is that line now looks like it's now moved up a little bit to 2.5 Duke. And look, these are two of my really nice sleeper teams when the season began. So I like both teams. But I do like Georgia Tech more. And I especially I like the feeling of Georgia Tech too. What I mean by that is that Haynes King has been magical so far. If he was quarterbacking one of the major programs right now, he would be the favorite to win the Heisman.
He'd be in, no question about that. Right.
Yeah, that's the kind of season he's having. I mean, if you just give him the ball in the fourth quarter with a minute or two to go and they're down or tied, game's over. You're going to lose. That's the kind of season he's having. Duke, meanwhile, got off to a slow start. They lost a couple of games. They had a lot of turnovers in the loss to Tulane. But then after that, things just changed on a dime. Duke has won 3 straight up and against the spread by an average of 42-19. So they've been blowing out everybody. They've been a favorite in all 3 of those. A matter of fact, when they were a favorite during that run there, 3-0, straight up ATS. When they're a dog, 0-2, straight up ATS. But they're a favorite role now. It's interesting. The line started off at 3, went down to 1. Now it's back almost to 3. Not sure what that's about. Georgia Tech, meanwhile, has covered 7 straight off of a double-digit straight-up home win when they take on an opponent with a win percentage of a win percentage of less than 700. The Yellow Jackets have owned this series over the last few years. They have beaten Duke 4 straight since the 2020 season. And this is interesting. If you look at the Georgia Tech schedule, if Georgia Tech could pull this game out, they have a really good chance of running the table until the final game of the season when they take on Georgia. Georgia Tech can still lose this game, and they have a lot to look forward to if they run the table. So this is not end their season. But, Duke, on the other hand, this is a game they have to have. I still like Georgia Tech in this game, especially since they're a 6-0 dog. But I'm just going to expect anything to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen in this game.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised that Georgia Tech is the dog in the game. I'm not a big Duke fan. They'll powder the easy guys and, they'll struggle against good teams. This is a good team, Georgia Tech. And under Brent Key, when they've been a small dog of 6 or less, 4 times they've won every game straight up. So he knows how to coach, and Haynes King will be the best player on the field unquestionably. And you get a chance to put a couple of points in your pocket in a game like this. I think they're going to expose Duke for who they are. And I think Georgia Tech wins impressively.
Wow, impressively. I like to hear that. Yeah, this was one of the moments here. They won this one in overtime with Wake. Georgia Tech did. They had that big final drive and beating Clemson here. Duke is coming off the impressive win at Cal. They had a bye. Well, what's interesting is Duke is having one of those schedules where they were at Cal, then they went on a bye, then they host Georgia Tech, and they go on another bye. I mean, why would you want to schedule that? I mean, I don't know if they scheduled themselves or the ACC told them this, but that's taking a look at the schedule, like you said there, these are the 2 better teams Duke played as they were dogs and lost them both. And then when they played teams that were Cal was their top opponent out of those 3, and it was their most impressive win. So we'll see how they respond after the bye. Okay, next up, let's talk about a big game in the Big 12, and this one is going to be between Texas Tech and Arizona State. And last week, boy, did I get screwed on the Wise Guy contest. I had Arizona State getting 6. And then I thought everything was fine. Anytime I ever do, especially the Wise Guy contest, before I make a pick, I always just check the injury reports, make sure I'm not missing anything because I still haven't finished all my research. And then, nope, nothing's wrong. Wednesday comes, I'm doing my show, getting ready, put all my information together. The line pops up like 3 points while I was live doing the show. And I'm like, wait a second, that can't be. Something's got to be. So live on the show, I'm typing up Arizona State. Sure enough, Sam Levitt, doubtful. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And the thing was, he was probable. They even admitted it. He was going to play. Nobody said anything on Tuesday. Everything was fine. And then like 24 hours later, he was doubtful. And you could just see,
right?
Yeah, you could just see the energy was taken out of the team because he's their lifeblood. Sam Levitt. He's one of those quarterbacks. Very competitive kid, and they had nothing in the game against Utah, but he does look like he's on track to play this week. The line actually jumped up to as high as 11. Now it's moved all the way back down to where it is right now. Is it still around 7, Mark?
Yeah, it's right around 7. There's even some 6 and 6.5s out there. So a lot of love for Sam Levitt, and rightfully so. But you're knocking down a big boy here in Texas Tech. But yeah. I love their chances, Arizona State, in this football game. And without getting too deep into Arizona State and how good they are, they're a home dog against an undefeated team like Texas Tech, who beat the spread double digits 5 times. They've won the money all 5 times. They're a really, really good home dog in the desert. And you've got a team here in. They've also haven't lost a home game. Go back when? How many is it now? 20 wins in a row at home. I mean, or last 2 seasons, they haven't lost a home game.
Under their new head coach, Dillingham,
yes. Yeah, they haven't lost a home game. And I'll say this to 6-0 or undefeated teams like Texas Tech is, especially the monster that they've turned into. Along the course of the way of being undefeated and trying to become an undefeated team by season's end, inexplicably, you will play a bad game and you may get out of it, win a game that perhaps you shouldn't have. It happens every time, every year to every team. Texas Tech has not really had that bad game, and I think this becomes that bad game for Texas Tech this particular week. You've got a real viable, good team in Arizona State with their quarterback back. The team is going to be pumped and geeked to the max with Levitt there in the desert. Give me the points with Arizona State. In fact, I'll play them on the money line.
Yeah, I'm going to play them on the money line as well. They're at plus 245.
Yep.
And if it matters, and this is something also that goes in Arizona State's favor, the host in this series has a record of 4-0 straight up. And also, speaking of quarterback injuries, Baron Morton. Now, he went down in the Utah game, and he had thrown a couple of interceptions. Remember, that game was like 6-3 or 3-3 after a half, and it was ugly. And Morton, a really good quarterback, as we know. He goes down. They bring up this redshirt freshman as the backup, this kid Hammond. And he goes out, lights up second half. It's like, wow, this is their backup quarterback? So he has a really good half. Morton comes back the next game or two, but then gets hurt again last week. Hammond comes in, and even though they went and blew out their competition, Houston, Hammond did not play well. That was a bad game for the redshirt freshman. So there's no word yet definitively if Morton's going to play. So you got to keep that in mind, because you have a redshirt freshman going on the road who so far has had one good game or one good outing or one bad outing and hasn't started yet. You would think that obviously he'll start for the first time if that's the case. So that's another thing to keep in mind for Texas Tech. And the other thing too is Arizona State. This is it for them. They have to win this game. This is it. Their season is basically over. If they lose this game, it'll be a second loss in the Big 12. Now, it is possible for another 2-loss Big 12 team and maybe mathematically get into the championship, but more than likely, if they lose this game, their season's over. So, all right.
As far as Morton is concerned, I followed his career. He's redshirted a couple of times. In fact, he's probably, I'm going to only guess, he may even be 23 or 24 years old. Because he's been around that long. And in his heyday, when he came out, they called him the Red Baron out of high school, because the kid could really light it up in the airwaves. And hence, Red Baron was a nice little moniker for him. And I'm glad to see that he's doing what he's doing with Texas Tech this year. They're going to be a joy to watch when the college football playoffs get here. But I will go so far as to say, when they do make the playoffs, they will not have an unblemished record.
Yeah, it's just too tough for any of these teams nowadays in college football to be undefeated. It's too much parity. So yeah, so even if you're a Texas Tech fan, you lose this game, you'll be okay. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be fine. By the way, yes, Baron Morton is 23 years old.
There you go. So. The math said he had to be, because I remember him like 5 or 6 years ago. You know what I mean? So he's been around and served his time.
Okay, and then here is our last of the Power 4 games, and this is the Holy War between Utah and BYU. This is one of those 6-0 dogs we talked about. And you know what's kind of interesting or fun now is that a few years ago, look, if you go back 103 Holy Wars. So if you think about it, this is only the second one where these two teams are in the same conference. And now both of them are like at the top of the conference. So this is like the most important Holy War.
Yes.
In the past, it used to just be for,
bragging rights.
Yeah. Right. Now this is for, hey, who can sit at the top of the other team? And another situation where Utah is more desperate because Utah's already has a loss like Arizona State. Utah cannot afford it. Utah loses this game, the chances are they are not going to go to the Big 12 championship game, and that means their season's over. So you got to keep that in mind. BYU's undefeated. They haven't had a tough schedule. Now Utah has not had a lightning tough schedule. They've had one really good opponent, and they got beat up by that really good opponent, Texas Tech, as we talked about. So really don't know a whole lot about how good these teams really are, but BYU's playing a true freshman quarterback all season. That's a nice story. I think it was a Stanford transfer. And matter of fact, they did not look good last week. They were down. They led 14-0 at Arizona. Then they got behind against Arizona. And with a minute and a half left, the redshirt freshman, the true freshman who had not really had a good game, marched the team down the field. Then with 15 seconds to go, they scored a touchdown. He scored the game-tying touchdown. And they went on and won the game. I think it was an overtime game, or that was a late touchdown. I forget. But anyway, they won the game against Arizona. And so that was a real big gut check. Utah is 3-0, straight up and against the spread as a road favorite this year. And BYU has covered 7 of the last 9 as a home dog, Mark.
I think it's going to be a great football game. I think it's kind of must-watch TV. A lot's going to happen depending upon who wins this football game. And as much as I love the back 6-0 undefeated dogs, I'm not going to do it with BYU here. I have too much respect for this Utah football team, who, by the way, you got a collision of real nice trends in this football game. When they have had double revenge, they're 4-0 against the spread as a dog with double revenge. On the other side, when BYU goes into double revenge, they're 0-4 against the spread. So I think revenge could end up being a factor in this football contest, especially in a holy war, a big series rivalry like it is. I'm going to lean to Utah, who I think is flat out simply the better team.
Okay. Also keep an eye, as I said the other day, on key injuries for BYU, especially. There were a couple of defenders that did not play in the game against Arizona last week, but it does look like their star linebacker, Jack Kelly, is going to be available. And I don't have an update on the defensive lineman that was out last week, but at least getting Kelly back, that's important because he's even a more important player. So, yeah, something else to note there. Okay, so that's the Power Four. Now we have a couple of group of 5 big ones to talk about. And we knew this was coming. We kind of mentioned it last week. We're going to start, first of all, with the Mountain West. It's these 2 teams again. It's UNLV and Boise State battling it out again. Now, it's not for a 3rd straight Mountain West, but it could be. Of course, the Mountain West is changing after this year. It's no more Mountain West. So I know there's a lot of these teams, they'd love to be the last program to win the final Mountain West championship.
What is it going to become, Greg?
I don't know if it's going to be the Pac whatever again. But yeah, you've got Oregon State, Washington State coming in with, I think, about 6 or 8 of the Mountain West teams. There's like 4 of them that are not invited. And you're also bringing in Texas State comes in.
Nice.
So Texas State gets the invite to this new conference, which may be a reason that could be obviously very beneficial to G.J. Kinney. That would give him an opportunity to maybe step up in competition. But unfortunately, that is not going to be a Power 4 conference. It's still going to stay as a Group of 5 conference. So UNLV is 6-0 dog. And if you look at them, we've got conflicting trends here because UNLV is 9-4 as a road dog ATS last 13, but Boise's 14-5 last 19 as a home favorite, 2-0 in that role this year. And UNLV has had a really simple schedule, so that's one of the things that you really have to keep in mind. They haven't played anybody really strong yet or really good yet. I'd like to see what they would do now if they played UCLA. Because they caught UCLA at the right time. They had that comeback win against Miami of Ohio on the road. Very close win last week against Air Force. That was a high-scoring game. Matter of fact, if you look at it, they've played 2 Mountain West games, and they've been outgained by both of those teams, Wyoming and Air Force. And now they got to go to Boise, and Boise has owned the series. They've won 9 straight against the Rebels, including 3-0 straight up and against the spread in the last 3 since the 2023 season. And that, of course, included back-to-back Mountain West Conference championships. But it's a big spread. It's 13.5.
Yeah, it's a big number to lay an undefeated football team into. But I think what they do, Greg, is this just gets Boise's attention. If this is a UNL football team that's 3-3 on the season, I think they're maybe playing down to the level of this team and probably laying a few more points, but they're not. So I don't like this number at all. We talked earlier with when Jim was on the show about some games that have prices that you like the game, but you don't like the price. In the Detroit Lions Tampa Bay game, this is another one of those games. You like the game, but you don't like the price. It's just, if you like Boise, it's just far too expensive because this UNLV football team just hangs around and hangs around. They don't get their due. And a win like this for UNLV would probably open quite a few eyes, especially at Boise, on the blue carpet here, but I can't do it. Like you said, there's holes in UNLV. They played a really light schedule here this year. Put a gun to my head, I would lean to Boise State.
Yeah, and you get the feeling we may see these teams in another Mountain West Conference championship.
We might, yes.
Now, I do look and believe, I do believe that there are a couple of opportunities for some other teams to crash the party. I think Hawaii has a legitimate chance this year, and I know as a fan we would kind of like to see something a little bit different. It's like UNLV's had their chance a couple of years. Come on, especially if they lose this game, we'll be like, come on, we don't want to see another. That's it. That's 4 in a row. It's too bad. No, you don't get another chance. Give someone else a chance. But this is the team that I really have been impressed with this season, and that's San Diego State. I mean, and an interesting thing, Mark, is if you look at that, nobody really gave San Diego State anything. Beginning of the season, Sean Lewis got off to a bad start last year with the program. They had nothing. Most of it was the offensive side. And they start the season off week 2. They're playing Washington State. Most people believe that's not a good team. And Washington State buried them. And so you figured, San Diego State, we see they're just no good. But since then, San Diego State hasn't lost, and they actually blew out Cal. I mean, they just annihilated Cal. And they have been a monster team. And so Sean Lewis has got a really good team on his hands here. And so that's the team I would look at. I still think Hawaii could be another team there because look, they're 17-1 to win the championship. And I think that's a team that you want to keep an eye on. But they're going to have to win this week. They're on the road at Colorado State. If they can do that, keep the momentum going. But that San Diego State team, I think we might see San Diego State in the championship game with Boise this season.
Yeah, that was a nice hire. I think they brought him in from, Kent State, maybe.
Yep.
Where he really, really turned the program around, and he's done a masterful job here. First year, what do you have? Only 3 wins last year, but boy, they look like the real deal this football season here, offensively and defensively. So they're a team I believe you're going to have to keep an eye out on, and they're the type of team no one's going to want to play down the stretch.
Yeah, I've been just hanging with them the last few weeks, and I'm going to continue to do that until they say otherwise. So we'll see. Okay, now Sun Belt. As we mentioned last week, big game coming up this week, and it's only 24 hours away, and that's Old Dominion at James Madison. And James Madison's a 2.5-point favorite. I thought we were going to get a battle of 5-1 teams and unbeaten teams in the Sun Belt last week, but Old Dominion, maybe a look ahead, as a 2-touchdown favorite at Marshall, lost the game, and they really were never in it. They had some turnovers in the game. Not good. Matter of fact, they had 5 turnovers in the loss last week at Marshall. So that read look ahead all over the place. They just were not concentrating when they should have. But interesting, Mark, is that even though they're the losing team last week as a 14-point road dog of 5 turnovers, they're only a 2.5-point road dog. So that shows you how much respect Old Dominion's been getting this season. Well,
they have been, and they should be. Their only other loss was to open the season against Indiana, and they lost by 13 points, which is very, very respectable. So Old Dominion is a football team that is worthy of their status, where they're at, and the price that's on the football game. James Madison, 2.5 at home looks cheap, but it's there for a reason. The odds maker has put that number up there for a reason. One of my good friends says, the line's telling me something. Well, the odds makers are telling you something. This Old Dominion team is for real. And they kind of want to entice you to get into James Madison here. I don't want James Madison here. I think they have the ability, the Monarchs do, to bounce back off of that, what you would call that look-ahead loss. Just like Ole Miss last week to Washington State. You can throw that game out. And if they had lost the game, we would have said it even louder. It's the same thing with Old Dominion last week. They got caught looking ahead in this particular football game. And James Madison doesn't lose a lot of games at home. I'll give them that. But I'm a big Old Dominion football fan here this year. When they're on the conference road, they're 7-1 as a dog against a team that's coming off back-to-back wins. I think you're going to see the best of Old Dominion here.
Yeah, and also 15-6 as a road dog. ATS last 21, 2-0 in that role this year. They've also covered 8 straight away on the road after allowing 35 or more. And as far as the series is concerned, keep this in mind too. It's homecoming for James Madison. So I think it was one of those deals where they just wanted to make sure that they were going to get the house filled because they knew this was going to be a big game. You know, that's the way you got to look at the really major teams. They do it the opposite way. They want to make sure that all the homecoming people don't have to worry about the game, and they play the cupcakes. But the lower division teams, you know, or the lower teams like Group of Five and such, they want a big house packed, and so let's do it on homecoming when everybody can show up and give us a real good home field advantage. James Madison has beaten Old Dominion all 3 times the last 3 years since they've been Sun Belt Conference foes, but they've won the last 2 years by just 3 points each. So It's been a very tough series the last couple of years, and the line, who knows, maybe it'll pop up to 3 by game time. I doubt it because I have actually seen the line. Matter of fact, it started out at 1. So it's just recently it's moved up a little. So, okay. The head coach at Old Dominion, Ricky Ronnie. Yep. So he was the assistant. He got the job. He was offensive coordinator at Penn State, and he got the job. And so I was talking to Marty and Dylan, our resident Penn State guys. And of course, if you're a Penn State fan, you don't know, we have the Penn State show, and they'll do a post-game show on Saturday night after the Iowa game. That'll be late Saturday night here on the channel. And I asked him about that. I said, well, here you've got a former Penn State coach that's having a successful season at Old Dominion. What if Old Dominion goes to the playoffs? Does Ricky Ronnie get considered for the job at Penn State? And they said for 2 reasons, no. And one of the reasons is because Ricky Ronnie is really good friends with James Franklin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I doubt that would be the case. So anybody out there thinking that, like I did, chances are no. Matt has a question. We have a couple more things we're going to get through before we wrap it up, including our double-digit and regular upset picks. Matt wants to know any thoughts on the Nebraska-Minnesota game.
Well, this is a Nebraska football team that I kind of want to keep dissing, but they keep playing good football. And you just know sooner or later that it's going to end up hitting the wall here. And by the way, I think for what it's worth, I would throw Matt Rule's name in the Penn State job talk. Okay,
he's like the hot name right now, and the main reason of that is because he's really good friends with the guy at Penn State that makes all these decisions.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's almost one of those situations too. I mean, I asked Marty and Dylan what they thought, and they want nothing to do with Matt Rule, honestly.
They don't know.
Yeah. But it does make a lot of sense.
Well, you've got Minnesota here, a football team that started out pretty good. They won their first 2 games, albeit against Buffalo and Northwestern State. So they look pretty good. They win those games handily, but they struggled here. They're 2-2 since, but they've been beat in the yards all 4 football games. And that tells you that they're not as good as their 2-2 record says they were in those losses. I think Nebraska's playing too good right now to be stepping in front of with the Minnesota team that I think is going sideways right now. I'm not a big PJ Fleck fan, and I do like on the other side Matt Rule, and he's always good this year at this stage of his career with football teams here. I think he's serious about Nebraska this year. I would lean to Nebraska in the football game.
Yeah, this is one of those games when I see a team, when I see both teams are a combined 1-8-1 against the spread on the season, I usually stay away.
Yep.
I want nothing to do with those loser spread teams. But I see what you're saying. Nebraska is clearly the better team. And keep this in mind, too. If Nebraska wins this game, which likely they will, they do not have a tough schedule the rest of the way. I mean, they're going to be a good shot to end up, as one of these teams that's right there with a chance to play in the Big Ten championship game, because their last toughest opponent is going to be the USC game. And the reason I say that is because one of their other opponents was Penn State, and now we know what's happened to Penn State. So they have a couple of tough games, Iowa, USC, but there's no Oregon, there's no Ohio State, and there's no Indiana. So Nebraska's in a pretty decent situation right now, but they already have one loss in the Big Ten, so they can't afford a second one.
Well, they're going to catch USC after Notre Dame too, which would be a nice favorable situation for them. So maybe the Cards could play out their way. I'd love to see that because they need fresh blood in Nebraska. They need to get their program back to where it was. And this coach, I think, is a good coach that could probably get them there.
Minnesota has beaten Nebraska the last 5 times they played them. So Nebraska, of course, would like to end that winning streak. Just to let David know, who brought up USC and Notre Dame, you can check out our USC Notre Dame preview on our show yesterday on the Playbook ATS podcast. So that's available. There's a link in the description of this video to check out what we thought about that game. All right, time to talk about our upsets, Mark. So you brought up one of them. As far as these are non-double-digit upsets. One of them, I have 3 of them this week, and one of them was the Arizona State game. So we both agree on that. And the other 2 I have is Ole Miss and Washington. So I think Michigan, this is their season. I don't know what to think about Michigan. I don't. I think this could be a game that springboards them to a great run to the end of the season, or people start thinking that Sharon Moore is going to be gone by the end of the season, especially if they if they lose to Ohio State. Whereas Washington is a nice team. I mean, they're a very dangerous team. They've got a nice young quarterback in Damon Williams. They're playing better defense than I thought they were going to play this season. So I think Michigan's a vulnerable home favorite in that spot. And we talked about the Ole Miss Georgia game yesterday on the Playbook ATS show. And again, I mentioned why I like Ole Miss. Kiffin's a really good road dog in this spot. And I think, hey, why not play the money line as well?
Well, as far as Michigan is concerned, I think Sharon Moore is going to have to do a better job, step up and start winning some games if he wants to be the head coach at Michigan. There's too many other good coaches out there that this program is more acquainted with rather than an assistant coach that was elevated because of the situation. And if you're elevated because of a situation and you don't win impressively, you're probably likely not going to be that head coach at that school for much longer. That was not a good loss last week to Southern Cal. They got beat, 180 yards in the football game. I like Washington in the football game with you. They're just too good, too quality, too pedigree of a team to be taking points against a Michigan team that is up and down. And as far as Georgia and Ole Miss is concerned, I mentioned this on our ATS podcast yesterday that the first thing I do when I look at the college football card is I go look for dogs that I would say have a chance to win a football game and make a case for them. And they're almost always quality dogs. The check marks, they have to have a winning record, they have to have a good coach, they have to have a reason to play, and can the opponent be vulnerable? Well, Ole Miss checks 3 of those 4 boxes. The one they don't check is Georgia being vulnerable. And I think this is a much, much bigger game for Georgia right now than it is for Ole Miss.
Yep.
Kirby Smart is, again, he does a masterful job. He doesn't get the credit anymore because he's not at the head of the college football recruiting rankings anymore, and because he's not, you don't read a lot about him. But he doesn't have to be. All he needs to do is find some alumni that have deep pockets and can buy players for him. But I think this is a big game for Georgia here. I like them. I don't like laying points to a team like this to Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is too good, too quality of a program. But that's a dog I'm going to let go in Ole Miss this week because I think the Georgia Bulldogs at home between the hedges are the right side of the game.
And if you want to know what we thought about the game in more detail, including what Andy Isco thought about the game, check out the Playbook ATS podcast, link in the description. So do you have any single-digit upset plays this season that we have not talked about this week?
Single-digit? Well, I'm going to look at South Carolina against Oklahoma. This is a Sooner squad that was geeked for Texas last week, and they got even more geeked when John Mateer was ruled eligible.
Yeah, that was a great decision, huh?
Yeah, it sure was, wasn't it? I mean, come on, man. The kid's your franchise, and you're bringing them back. Right, he was out 3 weeks. He should have been out 3 months.
It's terrible.
Yes, absolutely terrible. That was just, playing for the prize right in front of you. But Oklahoma is a terrible favorite against teams that have at least one win in the season that are coming off a double-digit loss. That roll, they're 2-15 against the spread in that particular roll. And you got a South Carolina football team that's underachieved this football season here. Lenora Sellers is not having a good year, but he was one of the Heisman Trophy preseason candidate favorites, one of the top 5. He still has the ability. So does South Carolina here. I think South Carolina sends Oklahoma back with the second loss in a row, back-to-back losses. I think South Carolina rises from the ashes and wins this game.
Okay. Yeah. They need their defining win of the season because they haven't had it yet.
Yep.
But check out Oklahoma's schedule the rest of the season. They got Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, and LSU.
That sounds like a judge sentenced them.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
So if they were to if they lose this game, their season's over. That's it. It's over. They're not running the table, which is, again, the reason why you shouldn't have screwed around with Mateer's hand. You should have just, hey, if you lost to Texas, don't worry about it. We need Mateer healthy for the rest of the season. And
they paid the price.
Yep, that's Brent Venables. Okay, now double-digit dogs. We'll wrap up with double-digit dogs. So pretty good week last week. Our top one was the Northwestern one. They were the 10-1 dog against Penn State. And as we said last week, that had all to do with the whole Penn State deal. You got to, like you said, in these types of dog situations, you got to find the reasons. You got to find the story. Do they check your boxes of what you're looking for specifically out of double-digit upsets? And Northwestern definitely did in that situation. Braun, I think, has had like a big number of upsets since he's been there at Northwestern already in the last couple of years. And everybody knew Penn State was fragile in that game. So we got really lucky with that one. I've got 3 more this week, 7 last week. At least we hit 3 of them. But this week, only 3. We're going to start with a game tonight, Mark, and that is going to be the ACC game between Louisville and Miami. And I'm going to go ahead and jump on Louisville here. They're a 13.5-point dog, I believe. And, now it's down to 11.5. So it's 340 on the money line.
Wow.
But anyway, Miami's off a bye. And I look at that as maybe an opportunity to take advantage of a team that was hot going into the bye. And now they're coming out of it. Who knows what they did the last week or two? Nobody knows. As far as Louisville, they're coming off the loss to Virginia. So this is it. This is their season. National televised game, everything on the line. And we know Jeff Brom can be good in this spot. So I'm just going to, they got a good quarterback in Miller Moss, and he's capable. So I'm going to say, hey, anytime they pick a double-digit dog, you could wind up looking like pie in your face. And that can happen to you a lot because it does. But I think there are some possibilities here for Louisville.
I agree with you. I like them real well myself. In fact, I like them on a money line myself. I think they can stun Miami, and I think Miami is still overrated. And Louisville doesn't get a lot of credit. They put a lot of real good numbers up statistically. They check a lot of boxes here. I think they're a real live dog in this game.
Okay, and then I have another one in the ACC, and this is for one of the reasons that I just mentioned. Just same thing with James Franklin. I'm going to do it with Stanford and Florida State. So Stanford is sitting there at plus 625 on the money line. Florida State knows right now the season is over. So, the coach is going to try to convince him it's not. But in reality, they know it deep down inside. It's over. They've already lost 3 times, all in the ACC. So there's just nothing really to play for. And now you've got to deal with the times of transfers and how they start checking out. And now they got to go from the Southeast all the way to the West Coast. On top of that, keep in mind, Stanford's played 2 home games this year, and they've won them both. They upset Boston College as a 2 touchdown underdog. And the one thing, of course, I would be afraid of is Florida State could also come out and they're so pissed off. And if they are, and they play a good game, well, this could be a 30-point win for Florida State because that's how much more talented Florida State is than Stanford. And here's a spread, too, that works, or a trend that works for Florida State. The Seminoles are 15-1 against the spread as a favorite of 30 or less following a straight-up loss when they take on a losing team. So that tells me, well, I should be taking Florida State minus the 17, let alone the money line. But I think this is one of those spots, like I said, that you never know. These kids might quit, and if they do, then I want to be there to reap the benefits.
Well, I could see grabbing the points with Stanford. I don't know if I'd go so far as to the money line window.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I still think Florida State's a tad overrated myself. So I can understand all your reasoning and all your logic there, and wish you the best of luck.
All right. And then, I mentioned the pie in your face scenario. I think I'll have that maybe in that game on Saturday night. Here is my final one. And that's our boy, Chris Creighton at Eastern Michigan, going to Miami as a 13.5-point dog, 4-1 on the money line. And I actually think, even though the record says Eastern Michigan has not had a good season, they've actually been a lot more competitive than they were last year. Last year was not a very good year. And really the last couple of years, things haven't really been the old Chris Creighton ways. But I really like, if you look at it, the last two games that they played, they lost in overtime at Buffalo, and they were a big dog in that game. And Buffalo had to tie the game on a 50-yard field goal to force overtime. Then last week, they had an upset win over Northern Illinois. So they're playing pretty well. We all know Chris Creighton is an excellent road dog. On top of that, we also know Miami is one of the staples of the MAC. But I just think that Miami could be. We saw Ohio lose one of these games a couple of weeks ago. Normally you would lose these games on the road, and I get that. It's not going to be easy for Eastern to win at Miami, but that's why you're getting 4-1 on the money line.
Well, Eastern's outplaying their record for sure. I mean, they've cashed in 4 of the last 5 football games, so the odds maker doesn't quite have them right just yet. And we both know we're big Chris Creighton fans in a football game like this. And I think Miami of Florida is a tad overrated here. So I like them plus the points. And an upset, would it surprise me? No. I like your side.
Miami of Ohio.
Miami of Ohio, yes. I'm sorry.
Yes. Do you have any double-digit upsets before we wrap?
Yeah, I'm going to give you one here, Greg. I might have to buy a half a point from you.
Oh, is it 9.5 spreader?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That's going to be Mississippi State, okay?
Oh.
I like this football program here. I think Florida, it's only a matter of time before Billy Napier is gone. Their numbers are getting worse by the week, and Mississippi State really hasn't done a whole lot wrong this football season here. In fact, at the beginning of the season, I thought they were in good contention to go bowling, and I still think they could be. But they opened up 4-0. They lost 2 games in a row to Tennessee and A&M, okay? And now they're taking on Florida, who's in a bit of disarray here. I think Mississippi State's a big live dog in this football game, and I would look at them strongly on the money line.
Yeah, you do have to wonder because so far the players have backed Napier. Every time his back's against the wall, they come in, they make sure that those whispers of him being fired go away. But you get the feeling that one of these weeks, that's not going to happen. One of these weeks, it's all going to be over because how many years? I mean, really, seriously, you would think that next year they have to move on no matter what they do the rest of the season because this isn't Florida football. I mean, they got to be competing for championships, not trying to just get to bowls every year.
Well, just championships is one thing. Getting to bowls is another. They had the head coach and Dan Mullen there, who had some pedigree.
Yep.
And I think made the program at least brought them up from the bottom of the barrel to respectability. And right now, that respectability is taking over here. Jeff Levy started out slow last year, but he's had a real good football season this year.
Yep.
And I think they're a real sleeper team, and I also think they're the kind of a team that no one in the Southeast Conference is going to want to play.
Okay. Homecoming for the Gators. We'll see if that helps them be motivated for the game. Mississippi State 4-1 against the spread this year. Florida just 1-4 against the spread. The money line sitting there at plus 285. And if you look at the spread here, according to DraftKings, it's at 10 anyway. So you've got your double digit just the way you want it there, Mark. So,
perfect.
Or I should say Don. So is going to wrap it up. I'll give Matt one more quick one. Matt wants to ask any chance of an upset, and I say no. Kentucky over Texas. If anything, I think that Texas has maybe righted the ship a little bit psychologically, and I think they might start to be a dangerous team now.
Yeah, they're the kind of team nobody is going to step in front of right now, Texas.
Yeah, I like the new quarterback that Kentucky's playing. He's a lot better than the guy they started the season with, Calzada. But other than that, it's been a pretty disappointing couple of years for Mark Stoops at Kentucky.
It has, and he's got to kind of finish with a little bit of a flurry here because there'll be rumors about replacing him as well.
Yep. All right. You're welcome, Matt. And thanks everybody out there for checking in with us on another Friday. Mark, appreciate your time as always. And we will do it all over again next week. And don't forget the newsletters out there. You can find that over at playbooksports.com, correct?
Correct. Playbooksports.com. Pick up also a free copy of our midweek alert statistical newsletter on the website. It's featured on the website. All you have to do is click on it. And you'll get a free download of our statistical midweek alert newsletter. You're going to love what you read in that thing as well.
Free, the free word.
Free word.
See? And we got a link in the description where you can just check out. It goes right to the website, and you can check out a whole bunch of things, including the free opportunity for the midweek alert. Midweek alert. Right, Mark?
That's correct.
Midweek alert. And when does that come out every week? Wednesdays?
Comes out every Thursday afternoon, usually around 4 or 5 o'clock.
All right, Mark. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week, and we'll talk to everybody next week as well.
Hey, Greg, enjoy the games. Be well. And like I told Jim, let's hope the ball bounces our way this week, okay?
Sounds like a plan.